One of the many things I love about Batman the Animated Series is the overall style the show had. Its Art Deco world was described by writer Paul Dini as a place where the 1930s World's Fair in Chicago set the tone of the universe and never ended. We're talking looming skyscrapers with massive, old-fashioned, impractical vehicles and gangsters in fedoras with Tommy guns, but coupled with that 1940s view of what future technology might look like. But all of that changed in the follow-up show, The New Batman Adventures. Sure, many of the same buildings were still there, but the rest of the world around them felt more modern. In a way, the buildings just blended into the background, making Gotham feel like less of a distinct character. Now, the obvious reason for this is that there was a change in the creative team. For instance, BTAS background designer Ted Blackman did not work on the other DCAU shows, so the cities just didn't feel the same. There's also the fact that these other shows had lower budgets too, for that matter. But outside of the real world reasons, I've been thinking about an in-universe explanation, and the conclusion I've reached is that it is all because of Superman. Obviously, when Baby Kal-El came to Earth, he arrived in an advanced spaceship, sometime in the 1960s probably. With him, he brought other Kryptonian tech, like the machine that could project data directly into a person's mind, and made Bizarro think that he had to recreate Krypton on Earth. But I'm not really talking about that. Well, not yet anyway. No, what I mean is the public debut of Superman. You know, the man in the blue costume with the red cape. Think about it. At the time of Superman's unveiling, the most powerful military weapon was the Lexoskel Suit 5000, a battle mech that required a human pilot to control it. When Luthor showed off the tech to the world, it was shown destroying traditional weaponry with ease. When the suit was stolen, or handed over to the Kasnians, Superman attempted to get it back, and would easily destroy it with his bare hands. So let's just think about that for a moment. A $1 billion battlesuit designed to redefine warfare for the next century crumbles before Superman. His arrival has completely changed the game, and Lex Luthor is more than ready to rise to the challenge. Let's just look at some of the advances Lex Luthor drove in his attempt to win his war against Superman. First of all, we have Metallo, a kryptonite-powered mechanical man that houses the memories of John Corbin. There's some debate as to if Metallo houses Corbin's brain, or if his mind was simply digitized and copied onto the robot. Either way, both of these advances are light years beyond what was capable before Superman arrived. Luthor had taken that idea of a powerful war machine piloted by a man and pivoted to creating a powerful machine that housed the essence of a man. In this universe, it seems like backing up minds became relatively common. Just look at Robert Vance in the flashback during the Batman Beyond episode Lost Souls, or Ra's al Ghul in Out of the Past. Likewise, Luthor attempts to copy his own mind to an Amazo in Justice League Unlimited's Panic in the Sky. Before Superman arrived, was this tech needed? Yeah, probably. It would certainly help people with incurable diseases, but it wasn't supported until Lex Luthor put his vast resources towards overcoming Superman. Kinda like how in the real world, war is one of the biggest drivers in technological advancement. For instance, surgical techniques were developed on the battlefield of World War I and would then go on to be used in civilian life. Or how advances in radar made during World War II led to the creation of the microwave oven that many of us use in our own homes to this day. Along the way, Luthor would instigate a variety of technological leaps in his effort to prove himself better than Superman. His advances in cloning technology created Bizarro. The LexCorp police battlesuit from Prototype was intended to give everyday police officers superpowers. Then we have Professor Ivo's Amazo android, a self-aware AI that could copy the powers of superheroes just by looking at them. All of them were made in response to Superman, and made possible because Luthor started throwing money at anything and everything viable to defeat Superman. And that's before we get to Superman sharing his Kryptonian technology with Professor Hamilton at Star Labs, which led to all sorts of advancements, including Project Cadmus. Before Superman the Animated Series, spacecraft were limited to the traditional combustion type of rocket that we know in the real world. But the Kryptonian tech was reusable and capable of significantly higher speeds. This led to human expansion across the galaxy with manned missions to Mars, which attracted the forces of the Imperium. Oops. But also led to the formation of the Justice League. And that leads to the other big thing. The arrival of Superman acted as a beacon of sorts for other aliens to head to Earth. For instance, Lobo wouldn't have come here were it not for Superman. Would the hordes of Apocalypse have needed to share their technology with Intergang if Superman hadn't been there? Similarly, Brainiac likely would have steered clear of us too, were it not for the Last Son of Krypton calling this place home. And that interaction also had a knock-on effect. When Brainiac attempted to take control of LexCorp's systems and trigger nuclear Armageddon, Superman defeated him, allowing the army to blow up his ship. However, little pieces of Brainiac remained, and Luthor studied them. While Brainiac persisted inside of Luthor's network, he would draw up plans for a replacement body, something more advanced, and instructed Luthor on how to build it, thus furthering Luthor's scientific knowledge. And he did something similar for Wayne Enterprises in the episode Nighttime. Brainiac took control of Bruce Wayne because Wayne Tech had the resources to build a rocket that would allow him to leave Earth and regroup. Along the way, Brainiac shared the Kryptonian schematics with the scientists at Wayne Aerospace. While Brainiac had planned on killing Bruce Wayne to prevent the knowledge from being passed on, Superman intervened. This meant that Wayne now had access to advanced schematics for interstellar space travel, which his own employees could reverse engineer and apply to other areas of their business. How else do you think he was able to build the Justice League's Watchtower space station? In BTAS, he had a company that struggled to build a security system that could keep out a cybernetic briefcase. Then, a few years later, he's building advanced space stations and Javelin spacecraft. It's all down to Superman. And with these technological changes come cultural changes. During the new Batman adventures, Gotham was dragged kicking and screaming into the 90s, everything from fashion to cars and other technology. Sure, the vintage cars still exist, but most people drove more modern-looking vehicles, and Bruce Wayne's double-breasted brown suit was junked in favour of a more stylish black number. Even the criminals changed their attire, with biker gangs looking more punk than 1950s hoodlums. When it comes to technology, as we see in Batman Mystery of the Batwoman, Bruce Wayne even has a mobile phone. And a colour TV in the back of his car? Unthinkable at the time of BTAS. Of course, some of these changes may have ended up happening anyway, but likely at a more glacial pace. Some of them may never have happened. Without Superman, is there really a need for an Amazo? Probably not. But Superman's arrival led to some drastic changes, some of them quite disastrous, but these changes ultimately made the world a better, more connected place. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. Okay, that's it for this mini essay. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try and do a few more videos like this, especially once Cape Crusader launches, although that will really depend on how much the show resonates with me. As ever, don't forget to like, share, leave a comment, do all the usual YouTube stuff. I have enabled channel memberships and the thanks button if you would like to provide me with additional support. Channel members get early access to my weekly video essay, and sometimes these shorter videos that I decide to make on a whim. If you're a new viewer and want to see even more content from me, be sure to check out our podcast Totally Shway exclusively on this YouTube channel. On a related note, we recently launched a sister podcast to Totally Shway called Totally Shway Flipside that can be found on Totally Shway co-host Mary's YouTube channel. Currently, Mary and I are working our way through the delightful X-Men 97, so please do check that out if that sounds interesting to you. I've included a link to Flipside in the info button above and in the video description. If you could subscribe to that channel, it would be a big help. In the words of Flash voice actor Michael Rosenbaum,
Go Shway, kick some butt. See you later.